Hits and bans for game number 1. We got a best of 5 between these two teams, so buckle in, because you're about to see some excellent SMITE Console League action. Astral Authority, no hesitation, immediately banning away Soul from Watson.
I mean, we saw what he was able to do with that Goddess, just creating so much AoE pressure between that Stellar Burst and the burst damage of that Supernova. It's really easy to confirm a lot of these objectives. Odin Zeus, though, from Rival.
Quick pick and ban phase. We're already into the first pick, and Susano is the selection here for Chaotic Purpose in that jungle. Rival immediately 2 snap picks, and it's back-to-back warriors, Osiris and Robin.
This is going to be the frontline penetrators we were talking about between both Rapio and Gnome. They like to be able to be very aggressive. It's going to make things a little bit more tricky now for Covey and Transonics to be safe. We're going to see a relatively defensive Guardian potentially from El Brochacho. I'm expecting either a Geb or Kepri.
Could be either way. Brochacho has that defensive god pool as well as the aggressive options. Don't be surprised if you see him go the Ymir or the Ares, something along those lines. But it is going to be the Ganesh and the Chang'e for Covey in the mid lane.
And that's a great self-peeler. Chang'e has that immunity frames, and the second ability has a great AoE stun if every member of Rival align correctly in the corridors. And that's going to make jungle fights a little bit more tricky for Rival. They're going to have to really wait for that ultimate of Chang'e before they commit.
Geb, the final pick before the second ban phase. That's going to be for Jacob HL, of course. No Geb Walker solo lane for the console Rival squad. So they ban away Kronos from that man on your screen, Transonics. The Morrigan ban from Astral Authority, definitely a key one, because Watson played that pretty well yesterday.
Especially considering they don't want to necessarily give some options to Rival either. Another Ganesh here with a Geb, that's a lot of space control for one team fight, and that's a smart ban.
2 respect bans by Rival. Kronos for Transonics, the other one still in that duo lane, but that's at El Brochacho. The Ymir, or excuse me, he already has the Ganesh. That's actually at Wolves in that solo lane who likes to play that Guardian from time to time. It's going to be Hu Yi here for Dobson. Not only a strong pick for him, but one of Transonic's favorites as well.
Why do you expect Wolves to go here? Do you expect a Loki, or is he going to stick to his warriors? Because right now, the only standard warrior I'm seeing remaining is the Bellona, but that's not something that he normally goes to.
Yeah, it could be Bellona, could be Erlong Shen maybe. We've seen a little bit of that start to creep up back into the solo lane, though Osiris does have a pretty positive matchup in that because he can shut down the healing coming out of the ultimate. Wolves' God Pool has been banned out pretty heavily here between the Sun Wukong taken away by Astral Authority themselves, and then the Odin and the Ymir on the side of Rival.
Not only that, they still need another Hunter pick for Transonics, who he is taken off the table here. Could see a potential Jing Wei, depending on the direction he wants to go to. Ram was banned by Astral Authority, not going to have that one. His playbook, though, is still pretty diverse. The Kronos ban was a very smart one from Rival because Transonics was doing work with that one.
Chalk for Wolves and Kernanos for Transonics. Chalk, a god that we don't see a whole lot of, Toli, but I suppose, as we mentioned, with all these warriors banned out, that was the best option for Wolves, and Hades in the mid lane here for Watson.
It's a nice idea because now you have 2 specific beads burners from Rival. You have the Geb and the Hades. These 2 complement each other very well, and without any sort of purification beads, the Suns from the Hu Yi is just going to create a lot of slowing area control around these jungle fights.
Silence also pretty important in the matchup up against Susano and Ganesh for that matter. You can silence Ganesh out of his own silence if he's not aiming it at you. So that Hades pick for Watson, this is a pretty tanky lineup for Rival. Are you concerned about their damage output at all?
Their damage output, it's going to be very evident in the mid-game. As the game progresses, though, if they don't build an early enough lead, I could see them start to falter off a little bit. It's going to be very important for Astral Authority, though, to start grouping up in the mid-stages and utilizing that Chang'e sustain.
And the other side, Astral Authority's damage output also not really jumping off the page for me. I mean, Chang'e, excellent at that poke, but poke into warriors isn't quite as relevant as it is into the squishier assassins that you're seeing in the jungle.
Especially with a Geb support from Rival, it's going to be able to mitigate some of the damage from Astral Authority, not to mention Hades could potentially look to find some healing of his own.
Here we go into the finals between Astral Authority and Team Rival. Best of 5 between these 2 teams. The first console final that we probably ever had between NA and Europe, considering that Europe usually struggles in these cross-region matchups.
Rival have not been successful in the past, but this time in DreamHack Valencia, they found that 2-0 victory yesterday against Soar Gaming, and if now's Now's the best time for them to show what they really have in store against North America. The question remains is, does Europe dominate all of SMITE or just the PC side of things? Can Rival extend this to the console world?
Astral Authority, NA's only remaining team, and has been since Sora was eliminated yesterday. On the PC side of things, of course, NA got eliminated day one. No one made it to the semifinals from North America. But that's enough about that side. We're talking about AA and Rival as teams pretty standard starts, though. Rapio's in the mid lane with Watson, whereas it's Brochacho in the mid lane. We're leaving Keranos alone in lane.
And look what Astral Authority are doing in that speed buff, grouped up, negating any sort of farm in that Soul Lane to start off. And look where Watson is going alongside Rapio. They're going to their speed, but they're not going to find it this time.
But instead of trying to continue that invade and go for the enemy blue buff, it's going to be the Fire Elementals, the neutral objective for Chaotic Purpose and Wolves. They gave up that entire wave on the right-hand side. Might get 2 archers worth of XP, but the tower should have cleaned up all that gold.
And they're still going to hit level 2 off of the wave anyway. Not too far behind here. They can still fight in this secondary wave around the 1 minute mark, allowing them the pressure that they need with the mobility provided.
Transonics picked up the minis off of the purple buff and is still here because the rotation seems to be coming from that mid lane, but what Rival have done is working very nicely. Transonics, I don't think, has gotten a dual lane wave quite yet.
Ooh, that purple buff, though, will be secured by Transonics. Not on the mark was that shockwave coming out of Jacob HL. And meanwhile, Astral Authority, they weren't really concerned about helping out Transonics in the purple buff. Instead, they wanted to really maximize their farm by securing those Oracle Harpies.
This has been a great start for Transonics in that dual lane. He's up in net worth, up in XP total, and he's going to be soloing these waves. This Gnome taking a little bit of pressure from Chaotic Purpose, going to be put down to about half HP. KP got just about as good as he gave, but not too worried about it. Going to be able to sustain nicely with the Vumbus Mask.
That was an Osiris that did have his passive fully stacked up. 16% physical damage mitigation, and without that passive, would have took a little bit more damage than he probably would have liked. And this is a good timing to find some poke onto the Soul Lane while the Osiris is still level 3 before he gets any sort of defensive items online.
Brochacho has returned to the duo lane, leaving Kobe alone in the mid lane now as Chaotic Purpose is going to join up with him as Dobson and Transonics start to poke each other down a little bit. 2 aggressive players in this duo lane that I know Dobson has been excited about this matchup for quite some time.
And Transonics is excited about any matchup he can get. He's always looking for the action here. Sitting at level 4 now, 1 level above Dobson. He's putting him in a comfortable position here as El Brochacho finally has made a little bit of a shift in attention into that duo lane, helping out Transonics to be on the aggressive side of things.
The neutral objective, the Fire Elementals again going Astral Authority's way. Gnome being pushed underneath his tower, and that's not something that you're used to seeing for that Osiris in lane.
No, not at all. I think it was the whole start that Astral Authority did by invading the speed buff. If you shut down the jungler, you in turn technically also slightly shut down the Soul Laner and the mid lane, and that's a great idea that Astral Authority already implemented in the first game of the set.
I mean, Osiris is the type of god we talk about all the time with how dominant he's been, that if you can shut down his early game, he becomes a lot less useful in the mid to late. But Chalk's the same way as in the mid lane. Watson finds the ultimate and forces out the beats from Kobe, but Chaotic Purpose trying to turn it around. Wolves down to 1 HP, but Kobe is going to be first blood. Rival get the first blood, but Chaotic Purpose does find Watson.
Gnome is here, though, Lord of the Afterlife, trying to chase down Chaotic Purpose. The Tether Stun is going to prevent the dash, the root from Rapio. Second kill for Team Rival.
2 for 1 in the dual lane. Brochacho and Transonics drop some ults of their own, but don't find any kills for it. Rival end up on top in that mid lane brawl.
Great rotation from Gnome just to secure that secondary kill, and it was a great turnaround from Watson to be able to get off the heal. It seemed that he dashed in to use that Pillar of Agony very aggressively against Kobe, and that's why the turnaround happened. However, the heal coming out of the Hades turned everything around. You damage the enemy and you heal yourself, preventing Watson from getting first blooded.
The heal on the Hades at this stage of the game is better than the healer coming out of Chang'e. I mean, Chang'e obviously going to be leveling that first ability, so you're not going to be leveling the Moonlit Waltz, so you're not really worried about the heal coming out of the third ability either. So Kobe ends up not being quite as impactful as Watson, and that's what you expect at this stage in the game, though. I mean, Chang'e obviously not as strong at minute 3 as something like Hades.
The one good thing, though, about that Moonlit Waltz hold, I thought that Watson taking a little bit of poke, but I like the fact that he's healing before he dashes forward, trying to maximize that option. However, as I was talking about the Moonlight Waltz, despite it being a low number in the heal category, the anti-healing is a flat number at all ranks.
That's true. So Watson not going to be able to get as much of a heal if he's hit by that third ability. So keep an eye on that little interaction in the mid lane between two gods that really haven't seen too much of in mid as of late.
No, not at all. In the solo lane, the Wolves surprisingly getting that 1-level lead despite Gnome making that rotation and finding the assist. Maximizing his farm potential is something that Wolves has been doing since the start of his console career, despite him playing a lot of these aggressive warriors, or sometimes whenever he plays these sneaky Lokis.
He likes to play some assassins from time to time. Whenever Wolves was first bursting onto the console scene, I remember it was a lot of Ao Kuang solo during Ao Kuang's dominance really across the entire map, not only in the jungle, but Wolves can really play it all there. And I just don't know, for me, totally, Chalk is not a character that Wolves has an easy time carrying on, and Wolves can absolutely carry a game given the right circumstances.
Whenever you're against an Osiris, the last thing you want to do is be aggressive against that god, and something that Chalk is excelling at is being able to clear from a distance. You just throw the axe at the wave, and if you take any sort of poke damage in return, you're just going to get the rain dance. And not only that, you never have to worry about getting invaded on your blue buff or having to secure your own blue buff anyway, because as long as you utilize the Chalk passive, by getting 5 stacks after each in-hand, you get a free cast ability on the next one.
Rapio gets pulled and Watson goes dashing in. There's a Cataclysm, but Kobe's caught, but he throws out a Waxing Moon. There comes the Dharmic Pillars from Brochacho, but it's KP getting bursted down. Kobe finds Watson and he escapes towards his tower. Transonic's rotation proves fruitful as he finds the kill onto Rapio. A 2-for-1 evens the kill total with 3 apiece.
Perfect rotation from Transonics, finding 1 assist and a kill to follow up. Dobson could not get there at the same rate, but trying to find something in return. Nice little juke from Transonics. Dobson now is going to have to retreat. Luckily, right around the corner is Jacob HL in case he needs to throw a Geb shield, but Transonics, he's not done chasing.
Dobson drops the ult. It does force the beads out of Transonics, but Brochacho was stuck inside there. Jacob HL with the credit. Trans going with the 1v2. He's looking for it. Trans finds 1. Trans going for number 2. Dobson boxing it out. He gets the double kill with an assist from Chaotic Purpose.
Great rotation from the jungler out of Astral Authority, and this is the confidence that you need out of your hunter. Transonics making the rotation happen. Dobson cannot respond in kind. There was a nice effort and attempt, and I thought for a moment there that Team Rival were going to get the better end of that one because of how overextended we saw Brochacho.
Transonics is feeling it. And this is a dude who always tries to turn up for LAN. He loves this type of environment. He loves being the center of attention, like most hunters do. And that type of play where Brochacho sacrifices himself, Trans still stands there boxing and just waiting for that slight bit of assist. And honestly, I don't know if he needed it.
And that's for the greater good. If you're ever going to look at one player to sacrifice themselves, for the most part, it's going to be your support player. And Brochacho, sitting at level 8, allows Transonics to get this 2-level lead over Dobson.
Big ult out of Watson, catches 3. Trans gets the dash up in time, but Brochacho is still fighting, locks Watson right near the Dharmic Pillars, and he's going to fall to the hand of Kobe. Now Dobson in trouble. The Typhoon actually focused down onto Jacob HL, even though Dobson used his jump already.
Rapio making the rotation, but not on the mark with any of his abilities, unfortunately. And now this gives a small window of an opportunity for Astral Authority to invade this purple buff. Jacob is very low. Rapio is very healthy, but it's Jacob HL. The shield is not good enough.
Chaotic Purpose just obliterates him, and Astral Authority gets the purple buff anyways, so Rival doesn't get anything out of trying to contest it. In fact, they lose more than they probably bargained for.
Solo lane, we're still seeing a passive farm fest between Gnome and Wolves. We're going to see them probably start rotating around that level 12 mark once they start picking up that second relic, and that's going to be available to them. But in this duo lane, it's just been non-stop action here. 7 kills for Astral Authority, 4 for Team Rival.
Transonics up about 800 gold over Dobson at this stage of the game as Kobe takes a big burst of damage. Brochacho silencing out Rapio to prevent the overhead kick or Mystic Rush. Kobe sitting at level 10, 2 levels up over Watson, who has not had the start he wanted. Despite some pretty impactful ultimates, 0, 3, and 2 at this stage is not a great start.
No, not at all, especially considering it was Kobe that fell first, and Watson followed suit immediately after the fact. And this is only going to get better for Kobe because the higher level he is, that's when he's going to start maxing out that heal as his second ability. He already maxed out his first ability to get the maximized poke potential. And the way that Team Rival had been positioning themselves around the jungle, they've been clumped up quite a bit. And some of these waxing moons are going to be thrown out there.
The good news for Rival is that Rapio has had an excellent start. He's up 400 gold over Chaotic Purpose, and Rapio, one of the more momentum-based players in the SCL, no doubt about it. The SCL as a whole, I think, is a little bit more momentum-based than the SPL, but Rapio in particular really starts to struggle if he doesn't get a good start. Jacob HL pulled in and controlled. He's gonna be able to get out of danger. No, he will not. The Typhoon cleans him up. Covey runs away from the ultimate from Rapio as Watson goes dashing in to 4 members. Covey's gonna fall to the Pillar of Agony, and Chaotic Purpose falling low as well.
He's not done yet. The Storm Kata and the Jet Stream with the damage over time. Connecting on the second death for Team Rival. Great sacrifice from Covey. You know, somebody had to die there, and the mid laner is gonna be taking the fall this time around. Rapio making a nice little clean on play.
Dobson shows his face in the mid lane as Transonics head back to base. It opened up the door for Dobson to make the rotation, but by the time he got there, the fight was already over. Jacob HL so intimidated by, I should say, by the CC chain capability of Astral Authority, actually went Purification Beads as his first relic in the support role.
I almost thought that Astral Authority overcommitted to this Geb support, only sitting at level 9. They threw the Typhoon, the Dharmic Pillars, I think Waxing Moon as well. And without those 3 ultimates, Astral Authority were still able to clean up another kill onto Watson after the fact, getting a 2-for-1 in the solo lane. However, Chaotic Purpose and Rapio are making their presence felt.
Gnome jumps up and over that Storm Call, but no one there as Chaotic Purpose had already escaped. That extra mobility that Susano gains when his abilities are on cooldown. So impactful in terms of being that slippery assassin.
Back into base now is Chaotic Purpose, finishing off that Brawler's B-Stick, and that 2-for-1 in the mid lane earlier on was only with that tier 2 mace. So now, with this extra anti-healing, it's gonna be an easier opportunity to pick off Watson.
Brochacho 2 levels up over Jacob HL as again, the purple buff stripped away from Rival. Watson with control in that lane, or excuse me, that's Wolves. Now the Dharmic Pillars come down in the enemy back RPs. Dobson drops the Suns to try and get all of Astral Authority away, and it does so successfully. So 2 ultimates in exchange for 1, Rival end up on top.
However, Rival still get their own red buff in turn, but it seems that Astral Authority are not done yet. They're gonna zone out on the right-hand side while the Gold Fury gets Leash. Transonics and Covey doing a good job kiting it back and forth, and it's so low.
Astral Authority get it, but Rapio still jumped in. Rival no commit after that though. Dobson just went back the lane to begin farming.
I feel like there's a slight miscommunication between Team Rival. Surely they must have known that Astral was going for that early goal here. Now, to their credit though, it's not the worst case scenario to be in. You're only down 3,000 gold, approaching the 13-minute mark. It's still a little bit of a lead that you can come back into.
Either way, Astral Authority has the lead at this stage of the game, and you mentioned it, Toli. The damage for Rival's composition is a little bit lacking come late game, so they really do need to start picking it up fairly soon because Astral Authority's late game damage significantly better. The mid game I think is worse because Chang'e isn't going to compare to Hades still at that stage. Rapio still going to be pretty effective, and once Osiris starts rotating into these team fights, that could be the big difference maker that Rival need. I'd like to see Gnome start to make some rotations pretty soon here.
But we were talking about the Chang'e here, but it's actually Watson that got poked out so many times in this game thus far, already having 4 deaths. It seems that there's nothing really to worry about on Covey's side of things. Astral Authority are doing a good job objectively, though. They got the gold here earlier on. They almost secured this Portal Demon up until Rapio showed his face.
On the run is Rapio. He's going to use the Purification Bead, but still controlled, and before he can ult, he gets killed by Chaotic Purpose. Big ultimate out of Jacob HL, but a bigger out of Watson. Sets up the double Lord of the Afterlife from Gnome, the Suns as well. But Astral Authority still standing strong. Gnome finally gonna clean up Brochacho, but Rapio and Watson already dead. Gnome soon to join him. Covey with the credit. 3 kills for the mid laner for Astral Authority, who are now doubling Team Rival in kills, 12-6.
El Brochacho yet again sacrificing himself for the greater good. Last time it was a 2-for-1. This time slightly better, 3-for-1, plus that tier 1 tower in the solo lane, extending their lead a little slightly, transitioning towards this Portal Demon, adding 750 gold to boot.
What do you think the problem is for Rival right now? Why are they seem to be getting some good ultimates. I mean, that was a double Hades ult into a double Osiris ult into a triple Hu Yi ult, and they only find 1 kill.
The problem is also that the Chang'e is now at the prime level that she needs to start healing up these targets. Maxing out that Moonlight Waltz is going to allow her to be able to keep the team fight rolling around. Geb here at level 10 doesn't have the knockup and the shield fully maxed out, so he's not going to be able to keep up with the damage and the shield. We're actually seeing the shield sitting at level 4 here, not fully maxed out.
Almost there, though. one more level. Kobe also has that Lotus Crown now to give some extra physical protection to everyone that he heals. Going to be a big impact there for Astral Authority's entire team, not just the mid laner, is AA again focusing on stripping away these duo lane buffs.
And it's just all about the space control out of Astral Authority. These Dharmic pillars coming out of El Brochacho is just so annoying to deal with, and it's going to be very tricky for Watson to position himself with that Pillar of Agony, because honestly, if he uses that, then Brochacho can just drop his ultimate right on top of that, doing so much damage over time.
Despite Watson's 1-5 scoreline, he's basically top of the player damage charts. Wolves just surpassed him now. He's gotten multiple big ultimates off, but I don't know. I just feel like the draft is a little... It isn't very cohesive, I think, is my main takeaway. The follow-up off of the Hades ult, Hui ult solid, but not enough burst to really make an impact.
Well, once the Hui gets the Fatalis, potentially, we'll start chasing down some of these targets and gets to that later portion of the game. A nice little pull onto Jacob HL, but that shield's going to negate a lot of that damage. And I'm looking at the experience gap here between a lot of these players. I'm looking at the Hunters specifically, that 3-level gap, and already a Fatalis on the side of Transonic.
Not only that, Transonics is over 2,000 gold up over Dobson right now. That's why you see him able to go for that luxury Fatalis early on. Both Gnome and Rapio forced to use their ultimates to get away, and no ultimates used by Astral Authority. There's an ultimate onto Jacob HL, the Typhoon. Gonna knock him up. Pretty big commit onto the Geb as he uses the Purification Beads and finds a 4-man Cataclysm.
Trying to find the kill. Nice Waxing Moon, and it's also gonna connect onto Watson to prevent any sort of follow-up, as Wolves is gonna zone 2 in the solo lane. Transonic still being that big old bully in the dual lane, taking advantage of Dobson.
Wolves just creating that wall, not letting anyone from Rival past, and Chaotic Purpose gonna pick up some extra farm here in the solo lane. No Portal Demon, Astral Authority already got that one, as they've controlled this game heavily through the first 16 minutes.
Watson trying to find a way to defend this tier 2 tower. He's going to get the minion aggro and the nice heal. Pillar of Agony is going to force out the Aegis from Chaotic Purpose. He has the speed buff, trying to get out of dodge here against Rapio. Will do so successfully.
No ultimate for the Robin, and KP is going to get away. Had to use both of his relics in that last engagement, though, between the Purification Beads earlier on and there the Aegis. So a little bit of a window for Rival if they could find him once more, but Susano, we talk about it all the time, probably the most slippery character in SMITE. Maybe Giannis up above him?
Giannis is definitely one of them highly contested mobile gods, but out of the jungle role, if you're not talking about global pressure, you have to be talking about Susanoo, the way the passive works. As long as there's one ability on cooldown, you're getting 4% extra movement speed, and not only that, you have 2 movement abilities between your Storm Kata on the 3rd strike. It gives you that dash, and then the Jet Stream, just being able to cover a lot of ground.
Transonics, no fear, but probably should be a little bit afraid. Good Aegis takes out a lot of that damage away. Brochacho throws out the silence, hitting multiple members, but Trans still standing strong, because here comes the cavalry. Rapio up and over the wall, but can't quite find it. Jacob HL gets gobbled up by that Typhoon, and the rest of Rival just backs up. Rival cannot fight on the left side of the map because Transonics is just too big.
At this point, yeah, he's sitting at level 17. He has so many items completed already, so much mobility with that Fatalis, working on either a Chin Size or the Executioner. The goal separation between these two hunters is just so much already, not even the 20-minute mark. In that last engagement, not only was Rival outnumbered, but their positioning was just all over the place. We saw Rapio jump over the purple buff wall, trying to find the kill onto Transonics, but all he had to do was just dash into the safety of his team, and there goes that. The jungler out of Rival was just non-existent in that last encounter.
Wolves getting chased down by Gnome, stunned out by the Judgment Tether, but even with Rapio, Watson, and Jacob HL and Toll, this is a level 17 chalk. Gonna be pretty difficult to find that kill, but Rival is attempting it, even with Kobe here, to support his solo laner.
Wolves has the self-sustain Kobe, providing the AoE sustain to follow suit, just casually 1v3ing the rest of Rival.
And there's no anti-heal here for Team Rival yet. I mean, we're 19 minutes in. I understand Rival's behind, but you're up against the Chang'e, you're up against the Chalk. I mean, yeah, there is a cursed Ankh on the side of Rival, but is that really enough?
I mean, we're gonna have to see a lot of a clutch ultimate here from Gnome on the Lord of the Afterlife, and the Cursed Ankh has to be well positioned here. We're seeing the Brawler speed stick already from Chaotic Purpose very early on to this game, and he has a lot of mobility with his abilities and his items. Having this Winged Blade and the Masamune, it's going to be very difficult to lock down the Susanoo.
I'm very surprised that Rapio didn't go Brawlers in this matchup. Yes, Gladiator Shield very good on Robin, but I think I would have rather seen a second item Brawlers, and then into the Gladiator Shield for a quick 3-item power spike. Either way, Rival's got to find something different to do because it's, again, Astral Authority on the objective. Portal Demon falls low, but the fight is what AA wants, and the fight is what they're going to get. 3-man knockup from that Typhoon. Huge ultimate out of Rapio. Actually hits 4. The Suns come raining down. Chaotic Purpose is separated from the rest of the team as Watson drops the Pillar of Agony. But that Waxing Moon is massive. Trans finds 1. All of Rival, the rest of them after Jacob HL fall, somehow is able to escape. But AA, again, just controlling these team fights.
All the AoE damage jumped in that small little corridor, and 2 members lined up with that hot Waxing Moon coming out of Covey. That's something that Rival have to be a little bit more mindful about. We saw the disengage coming out of Gnome once the Dharmic Pillars dropped, and then the re-engage from Rapio after trying to chase out some of Astral Authority, but it just wasn't enough. Everyone else was just too far separated.
Another Tier 1 tower goes down. That means all 3 T1s that are red for Rival are in the grave. Another 500 gold for Astral Authority. They're up over that 10,000 gold mark now, and experience difference even worse.
It's massive, over 15,000, and this is getting really dicey for Team Rival because this is the point when teams can start forcing some Fire Giants here. Portal Demon going the way of Astral Authority. They're going to be able to take that objective closer towards the late game buff, start dropping some wards here, controlling some more space, even have enough time to grab this blue buff for Wolves.
Just farming up all of these extra little things on the map because Gold Fury's down, Portal Demon just went away, you heard that go away there, and Fire Giant certainly on the table here for Astral Authority, but with this Tier 2 tower being this low, Toli, don't be surprised if Astral Authority just wants to guarantee that 1,500 gold and make it that much harder for Rival to escape.
It makes sense as to why Astral Authority are not hesitating, but being very patient rather, because Rival can't be the ones to start the Fire Giant, but they're going to have to try to defend this Tier 2.
Transonics escapes into the jungle. Rapio follows him, but Brochacho's there to support his Hunter. The box is going actually Rival's way, and that engagement is Watson finds a 3-man ult in the lane. Transonics still on the run, as is the rest of Astral Authority. Covey, Wolves, KP, all very low, but Rival just can't quite seal the deal. A good defense, Covey still on the run.
He got slowed a little bit. Nice little sounds from Brochacho, trying to dish out some more damage as KP. The ricochet is not on the mark from Dobson. Nice blink from Rapio, gonna find the slow onto 2 members, but because he's that low, he has to peel it back. He didn't find the root on anybody from Astral Authority, and a clean disengage. They're gonna rely a lot on the sustain here from Covey to get back into the thick of things.
Look at where Transonics has gone, all the way to the left side of the map, picking up the enemy red as Rapio still getting chased down between the 2 frontliners, Wolves and Brochacho. Don't want to let him go.
What a slow gap there, but once he got into that second part of his rollout, you get that CC immunity. You can't get stopped.
Look at how far up these 2 frontliners have gone, all the way back to the Tier 2. Dobson and Gnome coming wrapping around, but here comes Chaotic Purpose. Big damage out of him, but now he's on the run as the 2 warriors, Gnome and Rapio, chasing him down.
Aegis is going to buy him a little bit of time, but he's going to get rooted into place, waiting on his cooldowns to be able to escape the clutches out of the speed buff out of Rapio's Robin dashing through him, and here comes 2 more members from Astral Authority. He's going to force out the Mystic Rush towards the Fire Giant. Dharmic Pillars is going to slow him down. KP with the jet stream, not enough space to find the pull.
Speed buff was enough to get Rapio out of danger there. Transonic still all by himself. He actually got that Tier 2 and left during that time, so another 1,500 gold for Astral Authority. You can make that 3K in total, as now only 1 tower defending Rival's base still stands.
And when I was talking about what Astral Authority was doing 2 minutes ago by not going for the Fire Giant, it was a nice idea because there's no way Team Rival can do the Fire Giant themselves. They're patiently getting these Tier 2 towers while they still can, extending their gold lead beyond that 13,000 mark, actually 15.5. Not even 25 minutes into the game here, and Fire Giant is definitely going to be the next point of contention once Transonics gets some more mana, finishes off another item here.
Transonics had a lot of PvP engagements in the early game. He took the 2v1, he was fighting consistently. For the last 3 minutes or so, he decided, I'm going PvE for a while, guys. He split pushes the left, he steals away the enemy red. He goes to the mid lane a little bit, then he solos the Gold Fury, getting Astral Authority a little bit more gold, trying to finish off some power items. And talk about a power item, Trans just finished his entire build at the 24-minute mark with a Blood Forge.
As a hunter, that's almost unheard of, honestly. I think after that 2-for-1 in Astral's favor once Brochacho sacrificed himself was almost a turning point for Transonics to get that 2-level lead over Dobson and start making the rotations happen.
And this isn't a cheap build either, Tolly. I mean, normally when you see a build be finished this quickly, it's a lot of cheap items. I mean, you look at what Wolves has gone for, very cheap items across the board, but Chin Size, Bloodforge, Fatalis, all above that 2,700 gold mark really speaks to Transonics' level of gold that he's had in this game, as now he's looking for the Fire Giant. No one from Rival seems too keen getting in there.
Knock up though.
Astral Authority get the Fire Giant, and now they're looking for the fight. Transonics is low, however, is able to dash out of that Pillar of Agony as Covey finishes off Watson. Rapio gets touched up by Chaotic Purpose, and Gnome is in the middle of 3, but it's 3 Fed carries.
Team Rival already losing 3 on their side. Make that 4 once Jacob falls as well. Only Dobson remaining, and look where he is. He's all the way by that right side. Phoenix, Astral Authority, the North American console team is gonna win game number 1.
An F6 surround.